Amelia, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting us to your beautiful new offices on New Bond Street. We feel very welcome and privileged to sit here with you, looking bright and beautiful today. Loving the outfit. So, Amelia, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh God, where do we start? A little bit about myself. I'm a founder of a personal branding agency, as you said. You're sitting in our offices, Klowt. Single mum of two. Started my business in the pandemic. 3 years later, we're sitting, as you said, in New Bond Street. What are some of the things that I think people don't understand about me? Is there's Amelia, which is like the business owner and the entrepreneur and the confident, ambitious, probably very opinionated person. And then there's Mimi or Millie, which is the person that the people in this office probably know better than most people. So I can tell you all about Amelia, but I think probably Millie or Mimi is more interesting.
I love that introduction because it was only today. I read your post, I think you put out today, and you put something along the lines of people want to hear the success stories, but they want to know about the person behind that and, you know, the troubles and tribulations and journey that person has been on. So I love the personal touch in the introduction, and nothing is real without the personal touch. We may as well be sitting here reciting lines out of a textbook if we're not going to find out about the person when we talk about the business.
Well, that's the entire point, right? Like, we do personal branding as an agency. That's my bread and butter, is doing personal branding. And I think the biggest problem with personal branding is people think it's this big, shiny object which needs to be, in many ways, completely disconnected from who you are. And although Amelia as a brand, and it feels weird describing myself like that, but that's literally how I see myself, as a brand, and everything is strategic around that brand, is to a certain degree an object, but it is part of who I am. Like, that ambitious entrepreneur, opinionated, confident person is part of who I am, but it's not all of who I am. And I think with what people need to understand about personal branding is you need to be this like amplified, slightly more energetic, slightly more, in many ways, like objectified version of yourself in order to achieve the results that you want to achieve with your personal brand. Because if I was just sitting there, you know, speaking as I speak with my friends in the pub, that might build me a personal brand, but it isn't going to be the one that's going to bring me closer to my goals. Probably not. So the whole Amelia, Mimi, Millie thing isn't necessarily that I'm putting on some fake front. That is me, but perhaps that's the person I am at work as opposed to the person I am at home. So you're absolutely right in that you have to let people into who you are, but how you frame who you are online and through your personal brand, I think, is really important to align to what you actually want to achieve out of it. Because if I was doing all the rants that I do in the pub with my friends on a Friday, I might not have the same result that I'm hoping for.
And look, what I love about your journey, Amelia, having watched it over the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it may be, is that I think you saw the opportunity, you saw the potential in it, and that's why your posts and your writing caught me when you weren't running your own agency. You were working in the recruitment sector, which is what I do. And, you know, I tried to hire you, I think, on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
And you resisted, and you ended up setting this fantastic agency. But for the novices out there that either are very early on the personal branding journeys or are complete novices or haven't even seen it coming, please tell us a bit more, a bit more insight, what is personal branding and what is it exactly that you guys do here?
Yeah, I think personal branding has a really bad reputation. I think that people hear the word brand and they think, oh my God, I have to invent this thing. And like I said a minute ago, they think it's this big shiny object, and it's something that, is being forced down their throat because everyone's going, you have to create content, you have to be on social media, you have to do this, you have to do that. Fundamentally, personal branding exists whether you intentionally strategize that activity or not. So, for example, I had a personal brand with you before we even started doing this kind of conversation. Tarek had a personal brand with me before he became my intern. I have a personal brand with my kids. My kids have a personal brand with their teacher. Like, we all have a personal brand. Personal brand is just a fancy marketing word for reputation, right? But the process of building a personal brand or personal branding is creating a strategy around that reputation in order to build something that you want to be known for. Like, I want to be known as someone who builds, businesses and who is really good at sales and who is an expert in personal branding. That's what I want to be known for. So my strategy in order to achieve that reputation is to post content around those topics, is to talk about my business, is to talk about sales, is to talk about personal branding, because that is the reputation I want to shape for myself, because that's what's going to get me closer to my goals. So what is personal branding? It's basically your reputation at scale. It's you shaping what you want people to think about you when you're not in the room.
And what would you say a good personal brand looks like?
It's a good question, actually, because I think a lot of people think a good personal brand is like 140,000 followers like I have on LinkedIn, or, you know, a million likes on TikTok, or like whatever it is, right? But if that is not what your actual goal is, then is that a strong personal brand? I don't think so. I don't care. I really don't care that I have a million likes on TikTok, or that I have 100. That to me is not the goal of what I'm doing. I want to be famous to the people that I need to be famous to in order to achieve my goal. So a successful personal brand, or a successful brand, or a successful marketing strategy, sales strategy, however you want to frame it, is purely based on the goals that you or your company has. So my goals are to reach £20 million in revenue for Klowt. So everything that I do, and also for me personally, to have a sort of legacy in personal branding and be like that go-to person for personal branding, but also for helping people gain confidence, because a lot of people don't know this, but me stepping into my kind of personality online gave me the confidence that I needed to leave an unhappy marriage and to set up my own business, and all the benefits that came with that. And personal branding for me has become this vehicle to encourage people to be in charge of their own destiny, to have a bit more self-confidence. So my goals are going to be different to yours. Tarek's goals are going to be different from mine. Megan and my team's goals are going to be different from Tarek's. Everyone's got a different goal. So what does a successful brand look like? What does a successful personal brand look like? It entirely depends on what you want to achieve. So if you want to achieve leads for your business and you've only got 1,500 followers, but you're generating £1 million a year, that's a pretty successful brand to me. It's just about what do you want to be known for and what is your goal. And I think focus on that, not on how many followers you have.
And what drives you to be so personal, so passionate around personal branding? Was there a moment in time, what was that kind of light bulb moment that you saw or felt to drive you toward building your own personal branding agency?
To be honest, and it's going to be very hard for people to believe this because I'm so confident now. When I was a kid, I really had a lot of anxiety about speaking to strangers, and I didn't like even little things. Like I wouldn't pick up my house phone when I was a kid because I was terrified to speak to people that I didn't know, right? With my family, I felt a certain level of comfort, and I was the silly, stupid version of myself that I am now. But I had a lack of confidence, if you like, or a lack of self-esteem with anyone that was outside my circle. And that continued until I was about 29, 30. And it manifests itself in different ways. Like if I was out if I'm out in a social setting, it's not so much now, but if I was out in a social setting and I was with a group of people that I didn't know and I was waiting for my friend to arrive, I would just sit there on my phone because God forbid someone came and spoke to me because I had no idea what to say. And I feel a little bit like that was wrapped up in, I'm confident at work. I know I'm good at my job. I'm confident in being a mum. I know I'm good at being a mum. But when you took me outside of those two identities, I didn't really know who I was. And it wasn't until the pandemic happened that I was kind of forced to sit in my house in four walls with my kids and in an unhappy marriage and think, actually, is this the life that I want? Am I the person right now that I want to be? And I think a lot of people, and I don't mean to be like disrespectful to anyone that suffered during the pandemic, because so many people did, but I feel like a lot of people can resonate with me when I say that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was forced to look in the mirror and go, is this really who you want to be? And the answer was no. I didn't want to be someone with low self-esteem. I didn't want to be someone who didn't have the confidence to ask for the pay rise she deserved. I didn't feel like I wanted to be the person that worked for someone else, even though I loved the company I worked for and I'm still very good friends with the CEO now. That wasn't what I wanted to do, but I lacked the confidence to do something for myself at that time. And it wasn't to the pandemic that I thought, fuck, what am I doing? Like, what have I got to lose? And you talk about what was that moment, that was that moment. I think people romanticize like they had like a light bulb moment. And for most people, I don't think that's the truth. I think it's like a build up over time. And for me, it was definitely a build up over time, but there was an actual moment, a day that I was like, I'm done. Like I'm finished. I have to do something about this. And that is where that passion comes from. It's looking back to how brave that Amelia was and how she risked everything. Like I had £1,400 on my bank account. I had I was the only breadwinner in my family. I had 2 children that I had to put food on the table for, and a mortgage payment due, and childcare fees. Like, if it didn't work, I was fucked. But what was the alternative? Fuck my life. So I want to bring a little bit of that bravery to at least 1 or 2 people a day. And if I can, then I think that's what's going to continue to drive my passion, and that's what does drive my passion.
Bravery is a beautiful word to describe that on your journey, and your passion is clear and comes out with it, because I think bravery was a word that we associated with, you know, soldiers and people with swords and people going to battle, whereas I think now in a more emotionally intelligent world, we use bravery with being vulnerable, and there is a lot of vulnerability in that answer. Now, you've done that to build the personal branding agency. How much of that has to then be inputted into the people you work with? I mean, are you wearing a life coach and therapist hat as you're building these personal brands with people?
It's interesting, because with your clients, you absolutely have the coach hat on, because it's a tricky, like, it's easy for me to sit here and be like, just fuck. I mean, when you walked in, you would have seen we've got a massive neon sign on the wall that says just fucking post it, right? That is my mantra. Just fucking post it. Just fucking do it. Like, I say that all the time to everyone, and I sign a lot of my posts off like that as well. But that's easy for me to say, because I've gone through that trench. Like, we talk about bravery. I've already made the brave decision. I already jumped off the cliff and worked out how to build a parachute, right? And I'm at the bottom going, come on, guys, like, it's fine, right? That's scary. So you do have to have a sort of hand-holding part of the agency, if you like, whether that's through me or through Danielle or through Megan or Fahi or whoever it is that's helping a client kind of come through them starting to work with us and then getting to a point where they're comfortable and actually being who they are online. That takes some balls, right? And for people that don't really see the benefit of doing it yet, aka they can see they need to do it, they know they want to do it, but, like, you know, what is the upside of me sharing that vulnerability, to use the word that you just used? That's scary. So yes, you absolutely have to be a coach. You absolutely have to hold people's hand. But at the same time, you also need to shove them off the cliff, because most people won't take the risks that they're capable of overcoming because they're worried about what the downside of that risk is, when actually 9 times out of 10 there is very few downsides in comparison to what the upside is. So for me, quitting my safe job and starting a business, the downsides of that were pretty significant, right? Missed mortgage payment, not being able to put food on the table, like, those are quite stressful, high risk problems, right? But the upside, I mean, God, the upside was life changing. So someone said to me the other night, and it's interesting you asked this question, I'll shut up in a second, but I'm going through a bit of, and we talk about vulnerability, I'm going through a bit of a, like, internal change at the minute, and the business is changing too as a result of that. And that is, like, we're going through this, like, growing up phase. We've gone and done the startup thing, we did the scrappy thing, everyone doing everything, and now we're moving into this, like, we're a serious business now with serious goals and serious process and serious hierarchy and serious whatever. And that's required me to grow the fuck up as well, because I think a business is only able to grow at the rate in which the leader of that business is able to grow. And I've not really been known what the fuck I've been doing for the last 6 months, because it's the business is growing to the level of my capability. And so I've had like a bit of a leadership crisis, if you like. I've brought all these consultants in to help me, which I highly recommend anyone does. If you feel like you're out of your depth, you probably are. Get help, because it's probably something that can be solved, but you just need some professional help. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Harry, who runs a really successful marketing agency. And I said to him, like, I just feel like I'm banging my head against a wall and there's, like, a little hole in it, but I just can't break through. Like, I can't break through this wall. And he said, why do you think that is? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, what are you doing differently? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, do you know what I think you're doing differently? I said, what? And he said, you're being a fucking pussy. And I said, okay. And he was like, tell me how you founded Klowt. And I told him the story about, and he knew this already, he just wanted me to say it out loud, about how I quit my job and this, that, and the other. And he said, that was a risk, wasn't it? That was pretty brave. And I said, yeah, that was pretty brave. And he was like, and you're being a pussy now. And that's why you're banging your head against the wall, because you're not taking any risks. So he goes, what's the thing that you can do tomorrow that's either going to, like, fuck your business, or it's going to 10x your business? And he's like, whatever it is, do that. And, like, since that conversation, I've just been like, boom, 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 like, totally fired up. So, yeah.
And look, that's a real key moment, and something I wanted to speak to you about, because we met, I think it was October last year, in Covent Garden.
Was it October? Fuck.
I think we met since then, but you were wearing comfortable clothes. Yeah, you were wearing black leggings and you were raving about these leggings. I think some other girls in the office had bought them as well. And I think you had a black bomber jacket on, and you had your trainers on, and I took that away prominently because of what you do in terms of personal branding. And I went through a similar thing during the pandemic. I used to love getting dressed up to come into London. Then suddenly I was living in gym gear. And it's lovely now coming up to London and getting dressed up and taking pride in what you do, because it does give you an extra sense of self-worth. Your self-worth isn't defined by your clothing, but it helps improve, and any little improvements are very valuable. So look, you've been through a transformation. Loving the outfit today, loving the recent posts about this transformation. Again, with everything that you do, you've been very open about it. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's like, as I said, I feel like this year has been transformative is probably the right word. And I remember I kicked off, so we do an annual sales kickoff, and I call it a sales kickoff, it's not, it's a company kickoff, but with recruitment hat on, it's a sales kickoff this year. And I started it off by saying, we're going to be changing a lot of stuff this year, guys, and some of you aren't going to like it. And I went on to talk about the fact that we're going to be premium, and we're going to be moving to a new office, and that's going to mean that everyone is going to need to step the fuck up in terms of how they present themselves. And I didn't mean necessarily aesthetically, I meant in all aspects of their life. How they present themselves online, how they present themselves in comms, how they present themselves in emails to clients, how they present themselves, every single thing. Because what I've noticed is it's very easy to just do good work comfortably. Like, everyone in this room can do good work comfortably. Every single person in this room is intelligent, they're smart, they're proactive, they're all fucking great. That's why they work here. Everyone can do good comfortably. I don't want to do good. I want to be excellent. And the only difference between good and excellent is just being that much better, like that much more detail oriented, that much more caring of whatever it is that you're doing. And to me, that translates into the brand. Like, the color of our walls right now is our new brand color. We've gone from being this incredible bright purple, which was many ways like fun and young and all these things, to this kind of bluey purple color, because that visualizes the growth of the company. We're not a young startup anymore. We're a serious business doing serious business with real people, like serious people, right? So our brand had to reflect that. So we rebranded. We used to have this mascot. He was a big bear. Got rid of him because he's not.
His name?
Kurt the Klowt bear. Yeah, we got rid of him because he's not part of our brand anymore. He was fun when we were a startup. We're not a startup anymore. We're scaling. And so I kind of went into this kickoff saying, like, you'll notice I'm going to be dressing differently this year. I'm going to look different. My hair's going to be different. My makeup's going to be different. Every single thing I do is going to be different because I want Klowt to be different. And that has been a journey. And I think it's been probably chaotic at times because I'm transforming at the same time the business is transforming, and they're sort of interlinked, of course. And these incredible guys here have had to come on that journey with me, even though when they joined, it wasn't the same thing. And so credit to them, like, they've just taken the chaos and taken the shedding of the skin, if you like, on the chin, and they've gone on this journey with me. And we've done image consultants come in and work with everyone, like, we're giving everyone kind of cash to go and like buy stuff so that they can go to meetings and feel confident. And talk about the pandemic and being comfortable. Fuck being comfortable. I understand that people have a desire to want to feel a certain way at work, and of course you want to feel like you don't want to feel uncomfortable at work. You don't want to feel like your jeans are too tight or things. Like, I understand that, but when every single person in the world is turning up to meetings in leggings and bomber jackets, don't you want to turn up in a bright yellow dress that is tailored? Don't you want to look different to everyone else? Is that not the whole point of branding, is to stand out? So that's the journey we're going on. We're not quite there yet. But I think by the end of this year, Klowt's going to be definitely not the business it was last year. Definitely not the business I want it to be, but well on its fucking way to being the best agency in the world at what we do, for sure.
I love that you're challenging your staff in different ways, because we can all get caught up challenging our staff in the same ways. So, go to the gym more, walk more, eat healthier food. But why not challenge people with how they dress in their image, especially with what you guys do. You know, people's dreams and goals are different. I love going to our Dubai office because they're so open with their dreams and goals. Some people, you know, want to save up 50 grand or, you know, buy a new house, whatever. Some guys want, you know, body enhancements and white teeth. And their dream or goal is no less or more than anyone else's. It's about that individual's dream and goals and how hard they're going to work to achieve it. For someone that's just starting out on a personal branding journey, what practical advice would you give?
I think the first thing is you need to know what your goals are, which leads really nicely on from what you just said. Like, everyone has a different goal. My goals are different to your goals, are different to, you know, your goals, everything. No, we don't all have the same vision for what we want our life to be. And I think it's really important that you understand what you want. And that's quite a confronting question. Like, what do you want? Like, genuinely, what do you want? Do you want to get a promotion? Great. Why? Do you want to go and do speaking engagements? Great. Why? And I think understanding why you want to do things is a really important part of this. Like, you know, I can sit here all day and give you all the tips in the world about how to build a personal brand. I can give you the playbook on how to do it. But I think unless you understand why you're doing it.
You did that at Christmas, didn't you? You gave out a whole host of tips on what
we've actually got, you can download, we've just revamped it. You can, with all the algorithm updates, you can download it from our website. But it's, yeah, I think you need to understand first and foremost what your goal is. Like, let's take you hypothetically, building your personal brand, right? Let's say hypothetically your goal is to generate candidates for your business because you're growing, you need to hire people, whatever it might be. You also want to generate sales for your business because you need revenue to pay for those candidates, etc. So those are your two goals: sell to candidates, sell to clients. If those are your two goals, in order to action those two things, you need to look at what audience you need to attract to action those two goals, right? So you're going to have an audience of candidates, recruiters, and you're going to have an audience of clients, potentially CEOs, C-level people, founders, entrepreneurs, whatever. Those are your two core audience types. The next thing you need to think about, and the final thing you need to think about, most people do this first, and it's totally the wrong way around. What do you need to be known for in order to resonate with those two people? So normally people go, I want to be known for this, that, and the other. It's totally wrong. You need to think about what your goals are first, who is going to help you achieve those goals, and how you're going to speak to those people in order to help you achieve those goals. So if you've got clients or employers as one side, and recruiters as candidates for your business on the other side, what can you be talking about to attract those two groups of people? Well, the employers, you absolutely need to be talking about hiring. You absolutely need to talk about leadership. You absolutely need to be talking about running a business and the challenges around that, right? Because that's going to resonate with them. On the recruiter side, what pisses recruiters off? Bad commission structure, inflexibility, not being able to, hit really unreasonable targets, usually funny banter buzzwords that only recruiters know, like that kind of stuff.
Base.
Yeah, touch base, circle back, like spec, whatever. All these things that recruiters know. Those are the things that you talk about because those are the things that will resonate with those two people who will then follow you, who will then buy from you. So that would be where I would start if you can start there. If you don't know what your goals are because actually you're like, fuck, I just graduated and I don't know what my goals are yet because I'm only 21, just post some shit for 6 weeks and see what happens. I think we spend a lot of time thinking about what we should be known for, what we should be saying, and how we should be saying it. Why don't you just post what you want for 6 weeks and let your audience tell you what you should be talking about? So there's two ways. There's the really strategic way, and then there's the I have no idea what I'm doing way, and I just want to kind of figure it out way. So two options.
Now you're very open with your experiences, as we've touched upon, and you put something in a post in the last day or two as well about, I think one of your most engaged posts or looked at posts was one about your divorce.
Yeah.
But I think you talk a lot about the personal and emotional drivers behind what you do, and that's why you're so driven, what makes you successful. But what were the stepping stones on your, technical career, if you like, working in recruitment, etc., being experienced with LinkedIn? What were the experiences along that way that have you taken into what you've built in terms of a personal branding agency?
Yeah, I think it's probably worth starting with the fact that I am a cookie cutter entrepreneur. I have always had a side hustle. I've always had some little scheme going on You know, from when I was even really young, I remember I'd charge my parents to do like things for them, and I'd sell my toys to friends and trade Pokemon cards and like my dad used to go to Japan on business, and he'd come back with all these like Pokemon cards, and then I'd go and sell them to all the kids in the school, and like obviously that wasn't the point why he bought them, but I did it anyway. And so I've always had some scheme, something. And when I was 21, I of course did a year in work. You know, unsurprisingly, my first job was in sales, and did very well in sales. And because I did so well in sales, it gave me the confidence to be like, fuck you, I don't want to work for anyone, I'm going to go work for myself, as a cocky little 21-year-old that I was. And ultimately built a business over 2 years, did very well, was stocked in lots of different companies. It was a women's wear, lots of different shops. It was a women's wear brand. Year 2 failed, bankrupt, poof, everything gone. Had to move out of my house, had to sell my car, move back with my parents. Like, it was awful. And that experience really, if I'm honest, scarred me, because I was like, well, I can't do another business again because I'm going to fail. It's going to be terrible. And so I did what most people do when they get into recruitment. I jumped onto Google and said, what is the job I can do that's going to make me the most money with no experience? Number 1, recruiter. I was like, boom, I'll do that. So I went and applied for these recruitment jobs, got a job at this SaaS technology recruiter, and worked my way up from there, from talent advisor, which for anyone that doesn't know is like you are the scum of the earth in the agency. You are just bashing phones all day, all the way up to team leader within 12 months, or just over 12 months. And I loved it. I made loads of money. Realized that actually I thought I hated cold calling. I was pretty good at it. And I also realized in that journey that I was much more capable than I thought I was. Like, I'd just gone, you got to understand, from having this identity as this 21-year-old CEO of this business, blah, 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 and that identity being ripped away from me, including my confidence, into this new job that I had no idea what I was doing. And actually I was really good at it. Like, I was getting results. I was doing massive deals. Like, one of the biggest deals I think someone had ever done that early into that business, I did in like month 6. So there was a lot of confidence that came from that. But to go back to your question about like the technicalities, the skills that being a recruiter gave me that make me successful now are things like having difficult conversations, knowing how to handle quite tricky situations, knowing how to negotiate with people, knowing how to influence people. Because let's be honest, when you're a recruiter, you're trying to influence an employer and a candidate to like each other, but also to like you. And those are all skills that I now use in posting content, in winning pitches with clients, in, you know, influencing, they won't mind me saying, people in here to do jobs that I think that they should be doing that they don't realize they're good at yet. These are all skills that I've then taken into this agency, but I don't think I would be able to have built a personal brand that I've built, have an understanding of the fact that people buy from people, but more importantly, they buy from people they trust, which is why people buy from a recruiter and not from a recruitment agency, had I not done recruitment as a role, because that fundamentally gave me an introduction to personal brand. I was building a personal brand online when I was a recruiter. I didn't know I was doing that, but I was. And that gave me all the skills, which is how we got introduced, because I was posting content and you slid into my DMs at the same time someone else slid into my DMs, and I went and worked for them instead. But that enabled me to get further jobs and get further in my career, and then has obviously set me up for Klowt. So I think, it sounds very cliche, and I'm not saying this just because it's you that's interviewing me. I think anyone that wants any kind of success or any kind of, business in the future, you should work in recruitment. I think it's one of the best teeth-cutting exercises you could ever do for any industry. It's because it's ruthless. It's absolutely ruthless. And if you can survive being a recruiter, which in my opinion is the hardest sales job in the world, I think you're pretty solid at everything else.
Well, beautiful words to hear in graduate season. And,
yeah.
I'm taking some of the SALT team to a school tomorrow to talk about careers. So I'm gonna bring that quote and that energy with them. Perhaps we can bring the voice. And
take the video.
I'll play it in front of the year 6s at the local school. Now look, when you made the brave, bold and brilliant decision to set out on your own, you're in a world consumed on LinkedIn where there's VC this and private equity that and seed funding that and money being thrown here, there and everywhere. You decided not to go down that route, and you bootstrap this agency yourself. What made you not go with some investment and not kind of see the quicker leg up and stick to your guns and do it the way you've done it?
It's a good question, actually, because I've been offered investment like at least 10 times since starting Klowt, at least. And I've had 2 serious conversations about it. But every time I've had those conversations, I've just had this thing in me that's like, why the fuck are you going to take investment? That means you want a boss? Because that, to me, that's what an investment is, right? When I first started, I just wanted to do something for myself and get paid to do it. So why would I have taken investment? Because that completely counteracts what my gut was telling me, which was, do this for yourself. Because for those people that don't understand how funding works is, sure, you get funding and it's your business, but when someone has a 35% equity stake in your business, guess who you have to report to every month? Guess who's going to be having their, eyes over your management account to be scrutinizing every single penny and every decision that you make? You need a board. Why am I running decisions by a board when it's my business? So it was a very easy decision for me to make. And I think perhaps what I'm saying comes from with a little bit of probably lack of it. I don't understand what's a better word to describe it, but privilege, because I run a service-based business, right? My entire career has been in service-based business, aside from my first business that went bankrupt. So I have experience with selling a service. There's no front-end cost to that, other than website, time, whatever. I don't have to put an upfront cost to deliver that. All I need to do is just deliver the work and get paid to do it. So it's a lot easier to bootstrap a service-based business than it is to bootstrap a tech business or a product-based business, because you have a lot more upfront cost. But I think if you can bootstrap a business, why would you not want to? It's so easy, as you said, to go out and get funding. Like, I think people think funding is hard. It's not. There's so much money out there. You just have to know how to ask for it. But do you really need the money? Or do you want the money because it's the easier route? And for me, I've never. My mum and dad always laugh at me because I never want help from anyone with anything, which is, it's a toxic trait, but also a good trait, because it means I'm delusional to think I've got a, how hard can it be kind of deluded attitude about stuff. But it also means that sometimes I get myself in situations where I could have avoided if I just asked for help. But I didn't want any help with this. I wanted to do it on my own. So it was a very easy decision for me to make.
So I'm picturing you at home, starting this business, divorce papers, mortgage bills being thrown around, kids have just spilt something, screaming at you, telly's just broken, you're not going down the funding route. How is all of this on your mental health?
Honestly, fine. Like, I have a very, very high tolerance for stress. And I think that is perhaps toxic. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's toxic because it's me, right? But maybe that's toxic. It's that I think that it's fine. But I think the reason why I sit here and not employed is because I have a high tolerance for stress. Like, I don't get overwhelmed that easily. Like, to take this last 2 weeks, for example, there's been the most incredibly difficult things happen, both in my personal life, in the business, in interpersonal relationships. Like, this last 2 weeks have been probably 2 of the worst I've had in a really long time. And sure, I had a few tears about it, but what am I going to do? Cry and just not do anything? Like, just sit there and whinge about it? No, you need to keep going. And I think whilst my mental health is not necessarily always at the forefront, I know when I've pushed it too far, and I know when to peel it back. Like, I've had 2 holidays this year, which is more than I've had in the last 3 years. And that's because I fucking needed it. Like, I needed just a moment to not have to think and just be, which I think can be quite difficult for people in founder positions or in C-level positions. Like, just to be and not have to think is quite a tricky thing to reconcile with yourself, because I feel like you always have to be doing something for someone because everyone wants your attention. But I needed those things. So look, life is stressful. Running a business is stressful. Being a mother is stressful. Being a wife or a husband is stressful. Life is stressful. It's not meant to be easy. But I think having a tolerance to stress makes you more resilient to overcome stressful situations. And when you are more resilient to overcome stressful situations, you have a better chance of being successful. So.
And how about within the agency itself? How, if you had sort of situations to deal with regards to, employee mental health and...
Yeah, absolutely. Like, look, I have incredibly high expectations, but mainly of myself, but also of the team. And I think there's always a risk when you work in a high performing environment that people get burnt out, because when you're so passionate about something, and I don't prescribe to, I used to, by the way, I've absolutely put content out about this like years ago where I was saying, you can't get burnt out if you love what you do. Bullshit. You absolutely can. And I have multiple times in the last 3, or at least flirted with it multiple times in the last 3 years. I think you need to just have empathy is the wrong word. The finger on the pulse to be like, you're not doing great. Can you just like do me a favor and just take a few days off? Because, and I know they won't mind me saying it, but there are a few people in my team who are such perfectionists and who are such want everything to go well, that they will do that at the expense of their own mental health. And it's not because they're not in tune with their own mental health. They are. It's because they're so focused on delivering on whatever it is that they need to deliver that they just forget. And so I'm the first person to go, you haven't taken annual leave in 3 months. What the fuck is wrong with you? Go and book it. And I'm always nagging them, take annual leave, take annual leave, take annual leave. Because if I'm going to push you as hard as I'm going to push you, you better bet that I need you to reset, because there's no point in you working for me if you're working at 5% battery. You're not good to anyone. So yeah, it's hard here. Don't work here if you are wanting to clock off at 5, because this is not the environment for you. This is we stay in to get the job done. We have high expectations. Our clients are high performing people, but it's also incredibly rewarding. So, and you have great benefits, right? We do 35 days holiday a year. And if you wanted to take more than that, I don't think anyone would cry about it if you were performing. We give you well-being cash every single month. You can pay for therapists and food delivery services and financial therapists, fertility treatment, gyms, like all that kind of stuff. We pay for that. So yes, we take it very seriously, but also it's fucking stressful working here. So it's like, you need to be, I think, willing to expose yourself to stress. I don't think anyone that thinks that work should be fun and 90% of the time or 100% of the time is just deluded. Sometimes work is shit, right? If shit goes wrong, clients aren't happy. That's life. Have you ever been in a relationship where it was nice 100% of the time? No. Your kids aren't happy with you 100% of the time, and they're the thing that love you the most in the whole world. So,
and that's the honesty and reality of an organisation in growth mode.
Yeah,
it's
rough. But it's also very rewarding.
Absolutely, and there's going to be some gives. One of my gives, I gave up alcohol along my journey. That was part of my transformation that, you spoke about earlier. You have to, as an individual, go through transformations if you want your business to go through a transformation. What would you say is your biggest learning so far on the Klowt journey that you'd like to share?
Personal or business?
Good question. They're often synonymous though, right? I'm sure you can link the two.
Personal, okay. The biggest learning I've had on the business side is everything is figure outable. There is very little you can do that's going to end your business, even though it feels like it's like you will have moments where you think, oh my God, we're fucked. We are fucked. We are done. But actually you're not. Like, I had a real reality check with because as I said, I have such high expectations, and I'm always pushing for like wild margins on our profit, because I'm a psycho and that's just how I operate. And I remember going through our management accounts with Rachel, our finance woman, the other day, and I was going, oh my God, like we need to be making more money. And she was like, are you all right? And I was like, no, we need to. She was like, you're absolutely fucking crazy. She was like, your account is my favorite account to work on because it's the most easy, like your margins are great. Or this. She was like, you're nuts. And I was like, yeah, but I'm never going to be happy. I always need to be chasing stuff. And that's, I think, because I have this, like, perhaps, from when my first business failed, I have this kind of catastrophizing little bug in my head that when things don't go as I expect them to, which perhaps is also another lesson, don't expect anything because you'll be disappointed. Expect nothing and then be surprised. I'm always thinking like, fuck, it's all going to end, but it's not. It's fucking great. Like, we are toasty for quite some time. So I think everything is figure outable. It's something I always need to be reminding myself of, even though I've learned that time and time and time and time again. Even when a client's been unhappy, we figured it out. Even when we've lost a client, we figured it out. Even when we've had to let go of people, we figured it out. Like, everything is figure outable. And I think that's probably the same lesson, to match what you said, they're probably intertwined. That's the same thing with life. Mm. I met someone when I was 20, got married when I was 26, like had 2 babies. I thought that was my life. And when I realized it wasn't, I was like, I'm done. I'm finished. Like, my life is ruined because I've made a bad decision. No, my life has just started. Like, I get another opportunity to do it all again. Like, how amazing is that? Everything is figure outed. There is nothing that you can't come back from, other than maybe like murdering someone. You're good. You can come back from a bankruptcy. You can come back from a CCJ. You can come back from a bad credit score. You can come back from failing and bankrupting a business like I did and having to go back into the workforce, being a divorcee at 30 with 2 babies and having to be the only breadwinner. You can come back from anything, but you just have to be willing to put yourself out there in order to come back from it. Because if you sit in a corner and cry about it, of course you're not going to be able to make it out. You've got to learn how to swim. So yeah, everything's figure outable, I think, is the main lesson.
That's a great line. And, you can come back from anything is a really powerful piece of advice, and one I think I'll use in my careers fair again tomorrow. So thank you for that one.
I'll send you an invoice.
Yeah, thank you. What's some career advice that you wish that you'd got on earlier on in life?
It's not that serious. I think number one, it's just not that deep. We are not conducting brain surgery here. We are literally selling like personal branding services. Like, it's not that deep. I think when you care about something, which everyone in this room cares, and if they didn't, they wouldn't work here. I fucking care, for sure. It's very easy to get caught up in tiny little details, which really matter, right? We spent about 20 minutes before you arrived making sure the plants were in the right place and, the cups matched and stuff, because I care about details, but not at the expense of, like, your life, right? Doesn't fucking matter. Like, most things don't matter. So I think that's a really important piece of advice. If you get bad feedback, fine, action it. If you get fired, no worries. Most of us have been at some point. It's not that deep. Carry on with life, because we'll still turn it. What are you going to do? Like, you still have the rest of your life to live. So what are you going to do? Like, sit in the corner for the rest of your life? It's not that deep. The second thing is ask for stuff. I think particularly women, and I see it with people here, like the guys in the team are much more ballsy at asking for stuff. And I genuinely think it's a societal conditioning that women are told to be people pleasers, or in some respect or another. So they have a reluctance to ask for things, whether that be help, support, pay rise, money, like whatever it might be. But there's a reluctance to ask for the things that they think they need. So just ask for stuff. Because what's the worst that's going to happen is someone's going to say no. Okay, move on. You were in no worse of a position than you were before. So if you think you deserve a pay rise, bring a business case, bring some data, make the case, ask for the pay rise. If they say no, then you're not any worse off. But you will be worse off if you don't ask for it and then someone else gets it. So I think be a bit more ballsy in your asking of things is a good bit of advice too. The third one I would say is don't be afraid of working in shit jobs and for shit employers. Because I think, unfortunately, social media has made us all believe that we should only have to work for good employers and we should only have to work good jobs, which sounds lovely, but the reality is most employers aren't good. Most jobs aren't good. And that's not because the people that are running those businesses are inherently bad. That's not at all. It's that they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And they don't necessarily even have the time to know what the fuck they're doing, because there's 15,000 people in that business and there's a board who sit in a high-rise in New York making decisions about stuff that impact people who are based in London and on 25 grand a year. Like, that's not a toxic employer. You're just working for a large business. So I think people need to understand that, yes, you should enjoy most of your work for sure, but work isn't always going to be fun. And if you enjoy more than 50% of what you're doing, then fuck me, you've landed the dream job. Like, if you like your job more than 50% of the time, you are winning. And I think that was something I had to learn, particularly in recruitment. You're going to think you hate it for the first 3 months, but reality is, do you hate it or just do you not like parts of it? So yeah, I think doing jobs that you think are shit and working for shit employers is probably also a good bit of advice for people.
And going back to when you were at school selling Pokemons out the back of the bike sheds, was there a dream and a goal? Was there something you really wanted to be when you grew up?
I wish I could say I had like these grand I'm going to be an entrepreneur. No. To be honest, I just liked making money. I've always been very money. I'm not anymore, interestingly. I'm money motivated for the business for sure. And don't get me wrong, I love nice things. I love clothes and shoes, and we were talking about cars before we came in. I love cars. But money doesn't really motivate me because I think things I don't find that interesting anymore. the feeling of having something lasts about 2 or 3 days, and then you're on to the next thing. But yeah, when I was a kid, I think I just wanted to make money. I just wanted to be independent. That was what motivated me, was independence, because my parents, you know, I was very fortunate enough to grow up in a great family. Like, we went to private school, we had an incredible education, but my parents were really, really strong on never giving us a fucking dime after we were 16. And I remember when I was a kid looking at everyone in my school being like, it's so unfair, they get all this money for pocket money and all. And I remember thinking, like, resentful of my parents for not bankrolling me and my brother, or me at the time. And they were like, go and get a job, you're 16, you got a national insurance number. So I did, because I wanted stuff and I wanted to pay for that stuff. And I now look back at that and I'm like, I so get why they did that now, because they were trying to get me to understand the value of earning money and why it was so important to go out and work, and budgeting and tax and all these things. And I look at some of the people I went to school with now, and they are just deadbeat, because they have no idea about the world, because they didn't have that education. So I was very lucky to have that. But back to your question of, like, did I always want to be something? No, I just wanted to be independent. And I think 10-year-old Amelia or 10-year-old Millie now looking at me would be like, wow, like, you did well done. You got your own house, like, you got a car, you got a business, like, you work for yourself. I think I've achieved that. But we've got new goals now, new things to achieve.
That's a beautiful cuddling the inner child moment, Amelia. Cuddle that 10-year-old, because she would be very proud of what you've achieved. And I think independence is definitely a journey you're on, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, to wrap up, I feel you're a face in the recruitment industry. You came from the recruitment industry, and I feel that everyone in the recruitment sector in the UK, I know you work with all different types of businesses, but recruitment, you're very, very prominent. And I know you do a lot of work in the UK. I know you're branching out internationally as well. Salt listeners will be at our various offices in sort of 15 countries around the world. So people in Auckland or Sydney or Rio or Cape Town might not know, you know, about your content, what to look out for, and how to follow you. So if you just wrap up and let us know, you know, what's next from Klowt, and how best to keep in touch with what you're doing.
What's next for Klowt? World domination, Elliot. No, we're really interested, as you said, in global expansion. Like, we've already got a lot of clients in America and then in North America, which is really, really fun. We've also expanding into Dubai, so we've got clients in the Middle East now, which is also really fun. So that's just going to be a continuation of what we're doing here, is like growing into those markets. And for the business, just like hiring more great people and just keep optimizing what we're doing and making it that much better. Because like I said, like, the difference between being good and excellent is like just being that much better. And it's not that hard to be that much better, right? Like, you know, if you're trying to lose weight, right, and you're doing intermittent fasting, it's not that much harder to do 1 extra hour, is it? It's not that much harder to run that 1 extra mile or do that 10 extra minutes for your workout. So that's what I want to continue doing with the business, is like doing that extra, like 1 or 2% every time. And then in terms of where you can find me, as far as I know, I'm the only Amelia Sordell in the world. So you can find me on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, website, Google, all the things. You might find some weird old Facebook pictures, though, if you go on Google, so maybe don't do that.
Well, that's what people want, right? People want the
go and find me when I
raw,
was 15.
hidden stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, anyone listening out there, if you don't follow Amelia already, you're missing out. You should do. There's always something bright and wondrous and new to hear, and it's always truthful. And for me, you know, I can only really watch documentaries. I found it really hard to watch sci-fi and all the other stuff, because I like the truth. And I think, Amelia, with you, we always get the truth, and it's refreshing and pleasing. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.